It's been nearly 2 years since our last video, which incidentally was our Castlevania franchise retrospective. And even that video was dropped pretty much a year after the last one. Now, there's plenty of reasons for why.
That horse right there fell out of the sky and has to pass a US history test or the whole Earth is gonna explode.
What? My mom!
But, to cut it short, we were just a little bit busy, you know? Mas golly, shway, best. But, we are back! Mr. Breakfast returns. All the way. It's Mr. Breakfast 2! Ball still editing, me and Sam still writing, and Mr. Dinner's still hating. Now, 2 years is a while, and looking back, you know, we definitely had ambition, and Ball's editing was always awesome. Still, I think on retrospect, while it was fun, our writing wasn't super analytical, and sometimes, you know, it was just a recap with some light touches. Anywho, I was watching some totally random trailer, and felt the urge to play Castlevania all over again. Pretty much every game. Now, I've always loved the first game, but by playing it again a few times within our group, we all came to realize just how tight the design is. Especially in comparison to a lot of the quote-unquote action platformers or Metroidvanias that come out today, which all seem to have a focus on parrying. So, to put it simply, and to put it humbly, as if man would, this video will ideally be a much shorter runtime than our average, but with still a lot of detail and covering the intricacies and action design of the game that started the franchise, which is now being resurrected in a brand new style. Castlevania 1.
Lifting up the veil of the spooky monsters and the creepy scenarios you're tossed into right from the get-go, the unique aesthetical quality of Castlevania is at its richest here. This shot right here where Simon is standing outside the castle has such an emphasis on basically the general vibe of the game, and it does it really well. You get a sense of that classic Universal monsters in the way that it's not very similar to a lot of horror media now, where the atmosphere typically feels hostile. In Castlevania, it's akin to the classics. It's inviting to the point where it feels haunting and eerie, similar to Splatterhouse, even though that's a lot more Western, as it's emulating the Western slasher. That being said, in an era where everything feels so neutral and static and unevolving, there is no unique texture within the atmosphere in anything nowadays, which would obviously have us looking back. And looking back upon Castlevania, you can see how apparent it is, using the limitations of the hardware in a way that gets you feeling very specific emotions that the quote-unquote movie-like quality games of today don't really get out of you. Something like Resident Evil 4 Remake doesn't inject the horror of an insano cult story into the moment-to-moment atmosphere, even in its grimmest parts really. Point is, even when they have the tools to really go for it, they never do. Games of today always go for something digestible and spectacle. Things have to be made in the widest appeal possible, even horror games, which you'd think would need to have a tight focus to create the horror. So you'd end up with a ton of genuinely neutral feeling games, similar color grading of newer film or television. The folks at Konami making this game, they ain't know if it was gonna be a hit. The hotness at that point was Homeboy Mario. He was the scene, bruh. So making something this textured and deliciously dark is really inspiring in the artistic sense. Furthering my point on the artistic sense, the NES graphics and 8-bit soundtrack add to said texture that is missing nowadays. There's a slight roughness to how the gates look, the decaying walls giving you that sense of history that ties back with the Belmont's legacy with Dracula, that in conjunction to the opening track give it an eerily goofy, unique feeling, and just seeing Simon ready right then and there gives the whole thing a shaky feeling like, do I got this in me? The level design within Castlevania 1 is sort of perfect. Just in terms of raw design, it hits the beats for all bare minimum good video games. If you're gonna come to us, the crew, and hit us with, the stairs are trash because you can't move or jump while on them, or they place enemies in such awkward places. No bruh, literally no. Quit playing. You can be entitled to your opinion in most cases, but not this one. I don't care! Castlevania 1 is objectively goated. Get your ass back to Castlevania 4 with that nonsense. For a few reasons, let's analyze Stage 3 for example. Stage 3 is centered around mixing nasty enemy combinations that ensure your type positioning and microspacing with some of the skeletons. It's all about commitment to jumps and spatial awareness, mixing Medusa heads with the aforementioned skeletons in a flat space with a bottomless pit just a bit way back to check you on fundamental game design questions. Are you positioning yourself correctly? Are you aware of the spacing between you and your enemy? Are you gonna land that jump? It's all quite clear. The enemies and how they act influence the level design, as they act as a sort of obstacle, in a sense, becoming one and achieving zen in level design, as all action platformers should. Their erratic nature keeps their fights/obstacles engaging on repeat playthroughs consistently, and gives each stage its own unique distinctions purely on enemy combinations. Each enemy that has a projectile typically gets mixed with one that doesn't, but the one that doesn't sure is speedy. Like the Medusa heads, they come to you in this curve pattern. All the while, the skeletons are not only microspacing just like you the player, but also tossing bones that can vary on speed and arc. Each enemy essentially slots in like a puzzle, with other ones to create a perfect picture, similar to beat-em-up design. They cover each other's angles to create a formidable attack in tandem with the platforming that asks the player to think ahead and use their limited options creatively. Toying and tweaking at your enforced limitations and blind spots as a player really gives this game a level of confidence that is awe-inspiring. Actually, that's a good segue to a side observation about the limitations put on you as a player.
Now, the reputation this game has garnered for having stiff control is pretty exaggerated. Simon is quite the nimble fellow. First things first, every action is quite immediate. They have very little startup except in very hyper-specific scenarios. For example, if you're spamming the attack button on the bone pillars, their fireball will clip you since your timing's off. The key difference here between newer games is that there's a lot of commitment to every action. The fixed jump and the arch of said jump is imposed on you to make sure that you are consistently making decisions that matter, whether it may be for positioning or platforming, or it could be for both. It ensures that there are consequences along with the other limitations imposed upon you, like the dreaded knockback. But I do say dreaded only nominally, as it's great design. It tests to make sure you're fulfilling all the required criteria of simply not fucking up. In a way, it adds more tension, which feeds back into the core idea of interesting obstacles within the level design. It also punishes reckless play and makes you, the player, play on the same level as this game, which is why I humbly believe a lot of folks talk badly of this era of games, because they jump in all willy-nilly and get creamed like Patrick in that one episode, and then they call the game trash and outdated. Your brain is outdated, bruh. Can't even beat the game without a trillion save states and want to talk trash about the design. 8-year-olds did this in 1986. How are you grown and you can't do it? Not to mention the game's frankly generous variety of options at your disposal via the sub-weapons. Holy Water is amazing for bosses, but it's only okay during the level itself, making you route for an easier finale and a harder regular level. On the other hand, tools like the axe are fantastic for hitting just about anything, whether it be on the edge of the screen or on top of you, especially making stair encounters a lot easier, which I know are very controversial. Time Stop is expensive, but will let you skip entire sections, including the terrifying Medusa axe armor diabolical evil power. Thereby, you're really not as limited as you might seem, leading to an, in comparison to the rest of the era, pretty humble and nice action platformer with a difficulty that isn't so hard, but has you actually learn its language in a sense. Perfect to knock out in an hour or two on a nice evening, you know?
Circling back to the level design, there's one particular segment that's so cool to look at. Back in the day, just the spectacle of having so many fleamen being tossed at you. It keeps the essential theme of Stage 4, and that is to keep moving. It builds that natural instinct that if you know you can get away with it, you have to keep moving forward. It's a cool part of the game that I don't really see talked about. Maybe it's just too much for the common folk, because the amount of fleamen that's tossed at you is insane. They got you folded like a pickle, and they even fold, homie!
Like that! Like that!
It's as if they had Dracula stamping approvals on their job application mid-fucking stage. All that yelling and bickering got me tired and sweaty in this crazy Arabian summer heat. But I'm not done just yet. This is a perfect segue to the humble little critiques we got. But first things first, man, I need some ice cream in me.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, I don't even fucking know. Still, my name is Bob and I'm your anchor for the day. Stay easy. First up is local news. Mr. Dinner has once again tried to steal the Mr. Breakfast funky sauce formula. That motherfucker stupid as hell. He wanna be saucy? Let him make his own sauce. Dumbass motherfucker. Next up is weather. Damn, my boy, you look good as hell. Thank you, me. You look good as hell too. I like your tie. Anyway, it's hot as hell. What you need the weather for? Y'all should already know that. The desert, we got a heat wave inside that shit. And that ain't even make no sense. How the desert got a heat wave inside? Some probably looking angry as shit like the Mario 3 type shit. Also, in the UK, they got their own heat wave. Now, knowing them, they probably about to try and stab the air or some shit on some Resident Evil 4. Stop looking at shit. In conclusion, stay your ass at home. Look at this board. What this shit say? HAWT. Bitch, it's hot. Hot. Y'all ain't seeing that? It's hot. Stay your ass at home. Play some Mario Sunshine. Bump some Call Me If You Get Lost. I don't even fucking know. Turn on your fan. Go to the refrigerator. Get some of that cool air. Some shit like that. I don't even know. What? What's the cut? What the fuck you mean? Breaking news, y'all. Igloo has been awarded the greatest ice cream title by the National Ice Cream Foundation. They have officially crowned Igloo the best ice cream with no competition in sight. Check out this clip from their chairman.
Hey y'all see this? The Igloo vanilla sandwich. This is a classico. Got King Kong. That's supposed to be like King Kong. That's fire, but it's gonna cool you off in the summer. Joe Bar, what the fuck is Joe Bar? What you got for the rich folks, the ones that can afford anything? You got this joints? I don't know what the fuck this is either. We the best. We the best. And what do we have here? Pull up. Boom. Igloo cookies and cream. Boom. Look at that. Fresh out the box. Fresh out the joints.
Damn, that shit look good though. That Joe Bar look insane. I need me one of those. Just in time for y'all fat asses too. Now stay at home, stay breezy, stay easy, bump that Igloo. It's summertime.
Now don't get it twisted. Castlevania 1 ain't perfect. That's why Rondo exists. But I know we the crew be singing his praises for however long this video has been going on for. But there are some parts where the game drops the ball. Firstly, there are some programming quirks, mainly in two separate locales. One being in the spikes in stage 2, the other just being the floating platforms in stage 4. Like you could be a clean 3 inches away from the spike in stage 2, but you get clipped and just see Simon fall to the floor. Like, no bruh, get up, stop pretending. This is even worse in 3, but thankfully Rondo is pretty clean in terms of hitboxes. The other part is the frantic swamp part of stage 4, where you really got to keep pushing forward. And that very specific part where the pillar and 2 mermen ambush you, there's a floating platform coming towards you. And sometimes, if the very edge of the platform isn't edging the pillar, the game will look you dead in your face and tell you, nah, that platform just don't exist today, bro, chacho. It's rare, honestly, but when it does happen, especially if you're doing a no-death run, it turns you pettish. There's also the general problem that I suppose stemmed from the era, you could say, since games of the same ilk would have the same problem, that being when the game hands you a sub-weapon you don't want or might be indifferent to. But the thing is, you can't pick up the previous sub-weapon you did have. You're locked into it and it just shatters the routing of your playthrough. And that's a big problem since sub-weapons are a key component of what makes routing in this game so goddamn fun. It causes this snowball effect of you being quite pessimistic towards your run and wondering why bother. Yet again, bless Rondo for fixing this issue. But even today, the newest Ghosts and Goblins game, which is a fantastic game, I'd recommend, still has that weapon swap BS. Maybe you want to say it's on you for picking it up from a candle or a box or whatever. It's Castlevania 1 or Ghost of Goblins. You could kill an enemy that's near you or below you while jumping, and you'd end up with no way to avoid picking it up. As we mentioned, just ruins the enjoyment of the routing. This is very much a Sandscape problem, but there's also Dracula Phase 1. I think it may be one of the best bosses in the game, except for one factor. Sometimes Dracula will literally spawn on you, and it turns it into a guessing game, which blows to me personally since the boss itself, at least Phase 1, is all random to begin with. You have to be focused on where you're positioned as is, so when he spawns on top of you, the positioning game is thrown off. You practically have a millisecond to judge and base your spacing accordingly. Furthermore, once he spawns on you, if you already had the foresight of him doing that and decide the best option would be to turn around a position like that, he turns around, which leads him to backshotting you, and you get clipped anyways. Straight up cheating you, since he looked the other way for the whole teleport animation, then suddenly he's turned around after the animation ends and your cheeks are being touched. And I've tested this personally. Is it because I'm standing too much and not moving around? Nope. Is it because I jumped right before he appeared again? Nope. Once more. All that testing just to find out it was random was fruitless, man. It was like trying to find cosmic truths from reading tea leaves. Point is though, these problems aren't necessarily flaws within the philosophy of the game. They're edge cases. They're little moments where the execution just doesn't quite live up to the extremely high bar the rest of the game design sets itself with. In fact, if these are the biggest critiques a humble dude like me could come up with, that just shows how fantabulous the devs got it right from the get-go. And I must emphasize, from the get-go, it is bewildering how they got damn near everything about Castlevania down mechanically, as well in terms of visuals and music, right from the start. Even implementing old school parrying, which developers seem to have dropped the ball on these days. Castlevania's music, we just don't need to talk about it. It's a large part of the legacy. Truly damn near the first thing folks think of when they hear the legendary title of Castlevania. But let's just dig a little into it. Just for old time's sakes. The ear that Kinoi Yamashita and Sato Tarashima had for its timeless and beautiful melodies is truly something once in a lifetime. The type of deal people glaze Kurt Cobain for having that type of ear for melodies. Nah bruh, it's JB out here. JB just got it like that. Not only do the compositions make the identity of Castlevania become holistic, but it also made sure to have that melody that gets your toes tapping and humming consistently, even in Stage 4, which typically isn't the type of ambient music that at least Bush and Ball would say. I dig my ambient music. I kind of wrote this part for Bush, but it's still a slam jam classic, just because of the beautiful compositions that were made way back when, to keep you engaged as a player, both musically and emotionally, giving you that feeling to keep moving forward. There's also something only video games do in an artistic sense, nagging on your senses that hard, at the same time while having you engage with the piece of art itself. One of the few reasons as to why I think it's one of my favorite art forms personally. But also, sometimes it just got straight up bangers in there. Yeesh!
Or even Stage 5 got a song, Heart of Fire. And guess what? It's fire! Rah! In conclusion, that's really what makes Castlevania 1 a wicked rad game, man. In a weird way, after the muddiness of the success it got, somewhere in time it got turned into one of those crazy hard NES games, which it's really not. I mean, people always spout some nonsense about how it's archaic or unfair design, blah blah blah. It's a lack of effort on the player's part. All these chumps be using the you control the buttons you press image, but when it comes time to do so, they fold like a damn frisbee. And frisbees don't even fold. Sure, yeah, there are some crusty moments in there, but who give a fuck? Literally, if you can't be saying some faults of your favorite game, do you truly love your favorite game? I don't know, dude. I just don't like how people reduce games like that, especially slam jam classics like Castlevania 1. Because underneath the mask of difficulty, you get one of the foundational texts of a game that creates identities through mechanics, atmosphere, and imposed limitations. It's not even just about the difficulty either. As we said, it's a relatively easy game, and I bet anyone watching this could knock it out in an afternoon. But the friction within the design is just engaging, and that's something we've lost. Back in the day, a lot of devs were really sprouting and soft launching ideas. They didn't have the conveniences of today. So instead of games today that are trying so hard to imitate other art forms trying to be taken so seriously, devs back then used what little tools they did have to create genuinely meaningful experiences, even compared to the best of today. The confidence in what they were making is clear cut, bruh. And in the crew's opinion, at least, art doesn't age, even in video games. And you know, I implore you to give the game a shot. While the movement may be super committal and the enemy placements become tests in spacing and positioning, it's still just a cool game in every way. That's really what makes it special. That it is a foundational text in game design. It understood what makes a video game good. It doesn't need to constantly woo you over with spectacle. The design itself is telling you everything you need to know. This year marks the 40th for Unkvania. And even in this dire time of remakes and AAA sludge, with all the problems we see nowadays, we, the crew, look back on the game like that uncle we all love. Castlevania is great art, and we can all learn something from great art. Whether it be something analytical or something emotional, but it does what all great art does regardless. And that's to make you feel something. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. We tried a little bit of a different style with the script writing this time, because, well, it's something I always wanted to try, so I just brought it up with Sandscape, and we managed to pull it off, I think. But instead of Sandscape writing his own sections and me writing my own sections, and then just like combining them haphazardly, which I felt led to some tonal shifts, or like repeating of what was said, or just generally unfocused. We both pretty much co-wrote almost every paragraph in the script, and we checked with each other on every single thing. It was a true collaborative work, and I think it's worked out. Well, at least I hope so.
Still music keeps on turning me from the words that hurt my soul, removing that